The shuttle was falling apart around him. Kang Tiho gripped the controls with bleeding hands as fire consumed the back of his small ship. Red lights flashed everywhere. Warning sounds screamed in his ears. Through the cracked window, he could see the surface of the alien planet rushing toward him at terrible speed. He was going to crash. He was going to die. But Tiho was not ready to die. Not yet. He pulled hard on the controls, trying to slow the falling ship. The metal groaned and bent under the pressure. Smoke filled the small cabin, making it hard to breathe. His eyes burned. His lungs ached, but he kept pulling. The ship hit the ground with a force that broke bones. Tiho felt his body slam against the seat. Pain exploded through his chest, his arms, his head. The world became dark and silent. When he opened his eyes again, he did not know how much time had passed. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. He was hanging upside down in his seat, blood dripping from a wound on his forehead. The ship was destroyed. Pieces of metal and glass lay scattered all around him. Tiho cut himself free from the seat and fell to the ground. He cried out in pain as he landed on broken pieces of the ship. Slowly, carefully, he crawled out through a hole in the wall. Outside, he found himself in a strange new world. The ground was made of something that looked like purple crystal. It shined under the light of two suns that hung in the orange sky. Strange trees with silver leaves grew all around him. The air smelled sweet, like flowers he had never known. This was Velura Prime, the home world of the Veluran Empire. Tiho had never planned to come here. He was part of a human team sent to meet with the Velorans in space, far from their planet. Humanity was trying to make peace with this ancient race. They hoped to become friends, maybe even allies. But something had gone wrong. Rebel ships had attacked their meeting point. Tiho's shuttle had been shot down while trying to escape. His friends, his team, his captain, he did not know if any of them were still alive. He was alone on an alien world, wounded, lost, with enemies hunting him. Tiho checked his body for injuries. 2 broken ribs, probably, a deep cut on his forehead, many smaller cuts on his arms and legs. Nothing that would kill him right away. He could still move. He could still fight. He looked around the crash site and found a piece of sharp metal. It was not much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. He also found a small bag with water and a few food bars that had survived the crash. He needed to move. The rebels would come looking for the crash site. They would want to make sure he was dead. Tiho started walking toward the direction where he thought the capital city might be. He had studied the maps before the mission. The city was maybe 50 kilometers away, a long walk for a wounded man, but he had no choice. The alien jungle was beautiful and dangerous. Strange animals watched him from behind the silver trees. Some of them had too many eyes. Some of them had teeth that looked too sharp, but none of them attacked him. Perhaps they had never seen a human before. Perhaps they were curious. Tiho walked for hours. His ribs screamed with every step. His head pounded with pain, but he kept moving. He thought about his mother back on Earth. He thought about the small apartment where he grew up. He thought about the promise he had made to himself long ago that he would never give up no matter what. As the first sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, Tiho heard something that made him stop. Voices, alien voices, and the sound of fighting. He moved quietly toward the sounds, hiding behind the crystal rocks and silver trees. What he saw made his blood run cold. In a small clearing, a young woman stood alone against 3 armed soldiers. She was tall and beautiful, with skin that seemed to glow with a soft inner light. Her clothes were torn and dirty. A broken blade lay at her feet. Behind her on the ground were the bodies of several dead guards. She was Veloran. That much was clear from her glowing skin and the elegant shape of her face. And she was important. The quality of her clothes told him that, even in their damaged state. The 3 soldiers facing her wore different armor, black and red with symbols that Tiho recognized. These were rebels, Lord Voron's men. One of the soldiers laughed. It was an ugly sound. "The little princess," he said in a language that Tiho's translator turned into words he could understand. "Your mother's guards are dead. You are alone. No one will save you." Princess, she was a princess. The young woman stood tall, her chin raised high. "My mother will destroy you for this," she said. "All of you." "Your mother will never know what happened here," another soldier replied. "They will find your body in the jungle, killed by wild animals, they will say, a tragic accident." The third soldier raised his weapon. "Enough talk, let us finish this." Tiho did not think, he did not plan, he simply moved. He burst from his hiding place and ran toward the soldiers. His broken ribs screamed in protest. Pain shot through his entire body, but he did not stop. The first soldier turned toward him in surprise. He was too slow. Tiho drove the sharp piece of metal into the gap between his armor plates. The soldier fell with a cry of pain. The second soldier swung his blade at Tiho's head. Tiho ducked under the swing and kicked the soldier's legs out from under him. As the soldier fell, Tiho grabbed his dropped weapon and finished him. The third soldier was faster. He moved like water, his blade cutting through the air toward Tiho's chest. Tiho tried to block, but he was too slow, too tired, too wounded. The blade cut deep into his side. Tiho felt cold fire spread through his body. Poison. The blade was poisoned. But he was not dead yet. With the last of his strength, Tiho drove his stolen weapon into the soldier's throat. The soldier's eyes went wide with shock. He fell backward, his blade slipping from his fingers. All three soldiers were dead. Tiho stood there for a moment, swaying on his feet. The world was spinning around him. The poison was already working, spreading through his blood like ice water. His legs gave out and he fell to his knees. The princess ran to him. Up close, he could see that she was young, maybe around his age, if age meant anything to beings who lived for centuries. "You saved me," she said, her voice filled with wonder. You are human." Tiho tried to smile, but his face would not obey him. "Yeah," he managed to say, "human." "Why?" she asked. "Why would you risk your life for me? Your kind means nothing to us. We are strangers." Tiho's vision was going dark at the edges. The poison was working fast, too fast. "Because," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "it was the right thing to do." And then the darkness took him completely. Princess Yura had seen many things in her 200 years of life. She had seen wars and peace. She had seen the rise and fall of great leaders. She had seen the birth of new stars and the death of old ones. But she had never seen anything like this human. He lay on the ground before her, his body shaking with fever. His skin, which had been a healthy tan color before, was now pale like ash. Sweat covered his face. His breathing was fast and shallow, like a small animal caught in a trap. The poison in his blood was killing him. Yura knew this poison well. It was called Night's Kiss, a terrible thing created by her own people long ago. It was meant to kill Velorans within hours. For a human with their weak and fragile bodies, death would come much faster. She should leave him here. That would be the smart thing to do, the safe thing. He was just a human after all, a short-lived creature from a small planet far away. Her people did not care about humans. They barely even noticed them. But this human had saved her life. He had fought 3 trained soldiers while badly wounded. He had killed them all with nothing but a piece of broken metal and a stolen blade. And he had done it for her, a stranger, a member of a race that had shown his kind no kindness. Yura could not leave him to die. She lifted him onto her shoulders. He was heavy, but she was Veloran. Her body was strong in ways humans could never understand. She carried him through the jungle, following the old paths that only the royal family knew. There was a place nearby, an ancient temple built thousands of years ago by her ancestors. Inside was a healing pool, one of the sacred sites where her people came to recover from terrible wounds. It was her only hope of saving him. The journey took many hours. Several times Yura had to hide from rebel patrols searching the jungle. Lord Voron's men were everywhere now. They were looking for her, she knew, looking for her body. But they would not find her, and they would not find this strange, brave human who had given everything to protect her. When she finally reached the temple, the second sun was rising in the sky. The old building stood hidden among the silver trees, its walls covered with glowing symbols from a language that even Yura could not fully read. Inside, the healing pool waited, its waters shining with soft blue light. Yura laid the human beside the pool. His condition was much worse now. His breathing had become slow and weak. His heartbeat was fatting. She could feel death reaching for him, ready to take him away. She placed her hand in the healing water and poured some of it over his wounds. The water glowed brighter for a moment, then faded. Nothing happened. Yura felt her heart sink. Of course. The pool was designed for Veloran bodies, not human ones. The healing magic did not know how to fix what it did not understand. She sat beside him, watching his face twist with pain even in his sleep. Tears formed in her eyes. This was not right. This was not fair. He had saved her life. He deserved to live. "Please," she whispered to no one in particular, "please do not die." As if hearing her words, the human's eyes opened. They were clouded with pain and fever, but there was still life in them, still fight. "Where?" he started, his voice barely a sound. "You are safe," Yura told him, "in a temple hidden from our enemies." He tried to sit up but failed. His body would not obey him. "The rebels," he said, "you need to warn your people, warn the queen." Yura shook her head in confusion. "What do you mean? Warn her about what?" The human, she realized she did not even know his name, struggled to speak. Each word seemed to cost him great effort. "Before my ship crashed, I heard them talking, the rebels, on the radio." He coughed and blood appeared on his lips. Yura wiped it away with her sleeve. "Lord Voron," he continued, "he has made a deal with something called the Kreth Swarm." Yura felt the blood drain from her face. The Kreth. Even she, sheltered as she was, knew about them. They were a nightmare from the old stories, a living darkness that ate entire worlds. Millions of years ago, before even the Veloran Empire existed, the Kreth had destroyed countless civilizations. "That is impossible," she said. "The Kreth have not been seen in thousands of years." "They are coming," the human said. "The rebellion. It is just a distraction while your armies fight Voron. The Kreth will attack. They will eat everything, everyone." He grabbed her arm with surprising strength for a dying man. "You have to tell your mother, you have to warn her. If you do not, your world will burn." Yura looked at this human, this creature her people thought was weak and unimportant. He was dying. Every moment brought him closer to the end. And yet his only thought was for her kingdom, for her people. "Why do you care?" she asked, the same question she had asked before. "We have never been kind to your people. We have ignored you. We have treated you like you do not matter. Why would you give your life for us?" The human smiled, though it clearly caused him pain. "Because someone has to," he said, "and because giving up was never something I learned how to do." He told her his name then, Kang Tiho, a soldier from Earth, part of a peace mission that had been destroyed by the rebels. He told her about his home, about the small planet far away where humans lived their short lives. He told her about his mother, who was probably worried about him right now. He told her about the human way of seeing the world, about how, because they lived such short lives, humans believed every moment was precious, every life was valuable, every chance to do good was worth taking. Yura listened, and something inside her began to change. She had been taught all her life that humans were lesser beings, that their short lives made them unimportant in the grand story of the universe, that they were like insects, here today, gone tomorrow, easily forgotten. But this human had shown more courage, more honor, more strength than many Velorans she had known. He had fought for a stranger. He had suffered for a stranger. And now he was dying for a stranger. Maybe her people had been wrong about humans. Maybe everyone had been wrong. "I cannot leave you here alone," Yura said finally. "If I go to warn my mother, you will die before I return." Tiho shook his head weakly. "Your people matter more than one human soldier. Go, save your world, that is all I ask." But Yura had made her decision. She pulled out a small device from her pocket, a communication tool that only the royal family possessed. It could send messages across great distances, messages that could not be blocked or intercepted. "I will call for help," she said. "My mother will send her guards. They will come for both of us." "The rebels will track the signal," Tiho warned. "Then we will fight them when they come." Yura picked up the blade of one of the fallen soldiers. "You saved my life, Kang Tiho. I will not let you die alone. This I promise you." She sent the message. It was short and simple. It told her mother where she was. It told her about the human who had saved her. It told her about the coming darkness. And then she sat beside the dying man, holding his hand, waiting for rescue or death, whichever came first. In his fever dreams, Tiho saw his mother's face. He saw Earth, blue and green and beautiful. He saw the stars, countless and bright. And somewhere in the darkness, he heard a voice. "Not yet," it seemed to say. "Your story is not finished yet." He held on to that voice, and he did not let go. Queen Nalith had ruled the Veloran Empire for 400 years. In that time, she had seen empires rise and fall. She had commanded armies that numbered in the millions. She had made decisions that shaped the fate of entire star systems. She had never been surprised, until now. The message from her daughter sat before her on the holographic screen, its words burning into her mind. Yura was alive, that was good, but she had been saved by a human, that was strange. And the warning about the Kreth swarm, that was terrifying. Nalith stood in her throne room, a massive hall of crystal and light that had been the heart of the Veloran Empire for 10,000 years. The walls reached up toward a ceiling so high it was lost in shadow. Great pillars of living stone pulsed with ancient energy. This room had seen the crowning of 100 monarchs. It had witnessed treaties that brought peace to galaxies. Now it felt cold and empty. Her advisors stood in a half-circle before her, their faces showing various shades of disbelief and worry. Lord Torin, her chief military commander, was the first to speak. "My queen," he said, his voice deep and careful, "the princess's words are concerning, but surely she is mistaken about the Kreth. They have been gone for millennia. They are little more than stories told to frighten children." "And the human?" asked Lady Myra, the head of the royal court. "A human saved the princess, killed 3 of Voron's best soldiers. Impossible. Humans are weak creatures. They break easily. They die quickly." Nalith raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "I have seen my daughter's eyes through this message," she said slowly. "I have heard her voice. She does not lie, she does not mistake. Something happened in that jungle, something real." She turned to her guards. "Send a recovery team to the temple. Bring my daughter home, and bring the human as well. I would see this creature for myself." The guards bowed and left immediately. They were the best soldiers in the empire, trained since birth to serve the royal family. They would find the princess. They would bring her home. The question was, would the human still be alive when they arrived? Nalith did not know why this question bothered her. Humans meant nothing to her. They were insects, really, brief little things that lived for a handful of decades and then faded away. The Veloran Empire had existed for 100,000 years. Compared to that, humanity was barely a whisper in the wind. And yet, her daughter's voice had carried something Nalith had not heard in many years. Not since Yura was a small child, looking up at her mother with wonder in her eyes. Gratitude. Genuine, deep gratitude. For a human. The recovery team returned within hours. They brought Princess Yura, tired and dirty but unharmed, and they brought the human. He was worse than Nalith had expected. The poison had spread through his entire body. His skin had turned a terrible gray color. His breathing was so shallow it was hard to see. The healers said he should already be dead. By all medical knowledge, his heart should have stopped long ago. But it had not stopped. Somehow, this strange little creature was still fighting. They laid him on the floor before the throne, as was tradition for those seeking the queen's judgment. But Yura refused to leave his side. She knelt beside him, her hand on his chest, as if her touch alone could keep him alive. "Mother," she said, her voice breaking, "he saved me. He fought for me when he had no reason to. He was already wounded, already dying, and he still fought. Please, you have to help him." Nalith walked down from her throne, her long robes flowing behind her like water. She stood over the fallen human and looked at him carefully. He was small. That was the first thing she noticed. Smaller than Veloran's, with none of the inner light that marked her people. His body was covered with wounds and scars, some old and some new. This was a creature that had suffered much in his short life. And yet there was something in his face. Even unconscious, even dying, there was a strength there, a determination, a refusal to give in to the darkness that was trying to claim him. "Tell me what happened," Nalith commanded her daughter. "Tell me everything." Yura told her. She described the attack, the dead guards, the 3 soldiers who had come to kill her. She described how the human had appeared from nowhere, wounded and alone, and had attacked the soldiers with nothing but a piece of broken metal. "He was already poisoned before the fight ended," Yura said. "He knew he was dying. He knew there was no hope for him, but he still fought, he still won." "And after?" Nalith asked. "He told me about the Kreth. He had heard the rebels talking before his ship crashed. Lord Vorin has made a deal with them. The rebellion is just a distraction. While our armies fight Vorin, the Kreth will attack from the other side. They will destroy everything." The advisors murmured among themselves. Lord Torrin stepped forward. "My queen, even if this is true, the warning of a dying human is not proof. We cannot change our military plans based on the words of an outsider." "He is not an outsider," Yura said fiercely. "He risked everything for me, for us. That makes him one of us." "He is dying," Lady Myra said coldly. "In a few minutes he will be nothing at all. We should focus on the threat at hand, not on one insignificant human." Nalith continued to look at the human. His chest rose and fell in tiny movements. His heartbeat was slowing. The healers had said there was only one thing that could save him now, the sacred antidote, a medicine made from the waters of the first pool, the oldest and most holy site on Velora Prime. There was very little of this antidote left. It had been saved for emergencies, for moments when important Velorans faced death. It was never meant for outsiders, never meant for humans. "And yet, he came to our world by accident," Nalith said quietly. "His mission was peace. He wanted to make friends of our people, not enemies. And when he saw my daughter in danger, he did not run. He did not hide. He fought." She turned to face her advisors. "Tell me, Lord Torrin, when was the last time you saw such courage?" The commander had no answer. "Lady Myra," Nalith continued, "when was the last time you saw someone sacrifice everything for a stranger?" The court leader looked away. "This human has shown more honor than many Velorans I have known," Nalith said. "He has earned the right to live." She turned to the healers. "The antidote, bring it." Gasps filled the throne room. Lord Torrin stepped forward in protest. "My queen, the antidote is sacred. It is reserved only for—" "I am aware of what it is reserved for," Nalith interrupted, her voice cold as ice. "I am also aware that I am the queen. My word is law. Bring the antidote, now." The healers hurried away. They returned minutes later with a small bottle filled with golden liquid. It glowed with an inner light like liquid sunshine. Nalith took the bottle herself. She knelt beside the dying human, something no queen had done for any outsider in the entire history of the empire. "You fought for my daughter," she said softly, though he could not hear her. "You warned us of our enemy. You gave everything you had." She poured the golden liquid between his lips. "Now live, human. Live and show us what else your kind can do." The effect was immediate. The gray color faded from his skin. His breathing became stronger. His heartbeat steadied. The poison retreated, driven back by the ancient medicine. Yura wept with relief, holding the human's hand as color returned to his face. And Queen Nalith, ruler of the Veloran Empire, looked at this strange small creature from a distant world and wondered if perhaps her people had been wrong about humans all along. Perhaps they had been wrong about many things. Tiho woke to the sound of gentle bells. For a long moment he did not move. He simply lay there, feeling the soft surface beneath him, listening to the strange music that seemed to come from everywhere at once. He was warm. He was comfortable. He felt no pain. This was strange. He remembered pain. He remembered so much pain. Slowly, carefully, he opened his eyes. He was in a room unlike any he had ever seen. The walls were made of something that looked like frozen light. The ceiling rose high above him, disappearing into a soft golden glow. The bed he lay on seemed to be made of clouds, soft and white and impossibly comfortable. And standing at the foot of his bed was the most impressive being he had ever seen. She was tall, much taller than any human. Her skin glowed with a soft silver light, marking her as royalty among the Velorans. Her face was beautiful but cold, like a statue carved from ice. Her eyes were ancient, holding the wisdom of centuries. Tiho knew immediately who she was. He had studied the reports before his mission. He had seen the pictures. Queen Nalith, ruler of the Veloran Empire. He tried to sit up to show proper respect, but his body refused to cooperate. He was alive, that much was clear, but he was still weak. The poison had taken much from him. "You should be dead," the queen said. Her voice was deep and calm, like the sound of distant thunder. Tiho managed a small smile. "I have been told that before," he replied. "Many times, actually." Something flickered in the queen's eyes. Was it amusement? Tiho could not tell. The expressions of Velorans were difficult for humans to read. "You saved my daughter," Nalith said. "You uncovered a threat to my empire. You fought my enemies with a broken body and a failing heart." She paused, studying him with those ancient eyes. "Why?" Tiho considered the question. It was a good question, the kind of question that deserved a real answer. He thought about his life, about growing up poor in a small apartment with his mother, about the day he had decided to join the military, hopping to see the stars, about the long years of training, the dangerous missions, the friends he had lost along the way. He thought about Earth, about its blue oceans and green forests, about the billions of people who had no idea how big the universe really was, how many wonders and dangers it contained. He thought about the moment in the jungle when he had seen Princess Yura facing those 3 soldiers. He had not thought about politics or diplomacy in that moment. He had not thought about what his death would mean for human-Veloran relations. He had simply seen someone in danger, someone who needed help. And he had moved. "Because giving up was never an option," he said finally. "Not for me, not ever." The queen was silent for a long time. She walked slowly around his bed, her robes making soft sounds against the floor. When she spoke again, her voice was different, softer somehow. "Your species lives such short lives," she said. 100 years at most, less than the blink of an eye compared to my people. We live for thousands of years. We see centuries pass like days." She stopped at the window. Outside, Tiho could see the alien sky with its 2 suns and strange pink clouds. "I have always thought that your short lives made you less," Nalith continued. "Less wise, less important, less real. You are born, you struggle for a few decades, and then you disappear. What meaning could such brief lives possibly have? She turned to face him. But watching you fight for my daughter, watching you refuse to die even when your body had given up, I am beginning to understand something. What is that? ItHFY asked. Your short lives do not make you less, Nalith said. They make you burn brighter. You know that every moment is precious, so you fight harder, you love deeper, you reach higher, because you understand something that my people have forgotten. And what is that? That time is not a gift to be wasted, that every second matters, that true strength is not about how long you live, but about how much you give. ItHFY felt something warm spread through his chest. Not pain this time, something else, something like hope. Perhaps we have misjudged your kind, Nalith said. Perhaps we have been too proud, too blind. ItHFY met her gaze. Despite his weakness, despite his small and broken body lying in this bed of clouds, he did not look away. Perhaps you have, he said simply. For the first time, Queen Nalith smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of her lips, but it was real. You have courage, human, and truth. These are rare things in any species. She walked to the door, then stopped and looked back at him. Rest now, recover your strength. The antidote has saved your life, but your body still needs time to heal. When you are ready, we will talk again. There is much to discuss. The Creth, ItHFY said quickly. The warning I gave the princess has been heard, Nalith assured him. I am already mobilizing my fleets. We are preparing for war. Your information may have saved my empire. She paused at the door. There is something else you should know. Your team, the humans you came with on your peace mission, some of them survived the rebel attack. They are in a safe location, waiting to return to your homeworld. ItHFY felt relief wash over him. Captain Hana and the others, they were alive. And Nalith added, I have sent a message to your Earth, telling them what you did, telling them that you are a hero to my people. She left then, her footsteps fading into silence. ItHFY lay in his bed of clouds, looking up at the golden ceiling. He was alive. His friends were alive, and somehow, impossibly, he had made a difference. The door opened again and Princess Yura entered. She looked different than before, cleaner, dressed in proper royal clothes, but her eyes were the same, warm, grateful, kind. You are awake, she said, sitting beside his bed. I was worried. I am hard to kill, ItHFY replied with a weak smile. Yes, I have noticed. She reached out and touched his hand. My mother likes you. That is a rare thing. She does not like many people. She seems impressive. She is. She can also be very frightening, but I think you have earned her respect. That is not something many can claim. They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside the window, the two suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. What happens now? ItHFY asked. Now we prepare for war, Yura said. The Creth are coming. Thanks to your warning, we will be ready, but the battle will be hard, many will die. I want to help, ItHFY said immediately. When I am healed, I want to fight. Yura looked at him with something like wonder. You almost died saving my life. You almost died bringing us this warning, and now you want to fight again for us. Yes. Why? ItHFY thought about it. The answer was simple, really. Because you are no longer strangers to me, he said, and I do not abandon my friends. Yura smiled, and for a moment the weight of the coming war seemed to fade away. There was only this room, this moment, these two beings from different worlds who had somehow found a connection. Then rest, Kang ItHFY, she said softly. Rest and grow strong, because when the darkness comes we will face it together. ItHFY closed his eyes, still holding her hand. For the first time since his shuttle had crashed on this alien world, he felt at peace. The Creth swarm arrived 3 days later. They came from the darkness between stars, millions of ships moving as one. From a distance, they looked like a living shadow, a wall of black that swallowed the light of suns. Up close, they were even worse, twisted shapes of metal and flesh, creatures born from nightmares. They had destroyed 1,000 civilizations. They had eaten entire worlds. They had been sleeping for 10,000 years, waiting for the right moment to wake. That moment had come. But the Veloran Empire was ready. Queen Nalith stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the enemy approach. Around her, 100 Veloran warships waited in formation. Their weapons were charged. Their soldiers were prepared. They would fight with everything they had. And they would not fight alone. Captain Hana brought the human fleet out of hyperspace just as the battle began. It was a small fleet by Veloran standards, only 20 ships, but it was all Earth had been able to send on such short notice. Every ship was armed to the teeth. Every soldier was ready to die. Humans had come to fight beside their new allies. T-Ho stood on the bridge of the human flagship, looking at the wall of enemy ships. He was not fully healed yet. His ribs still ached. His muscles still felt weak, but he had refused to stay behind. This was his fight too. "All ships report status," Captain Hana commanded. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a voice that could cut through steel. She had been T-Ho's commander for years. He trusted her with his life. The ships reported one by one. Everyone was ready. "Good," Hana said. She looked at the Veloran fleet, then at the approaching enemy. "Today we fight alongside the Velorans. Today we show them what humanity can do. Today we prove that we belong among the stars." She turned to T-Ho. "You started this. You want to give the order." T-Ho nodded. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Attack." The battle was terrible and beautiful all at once. Veloran ships moved like dancers, their weapons firing beams of pure light that cut through enemy hulls. Human ships were slower, heavier, but they hit harder. They used tactics the Velorans had never seen, tricks and traps and surprise attacks that caught the Kreth off guard. The two fleets fought as one, covering each other's weaknesses, building on each other's strengths. It was not perfect. It was not smooth, but it was working. The Kreth were ancient and powerful, but they were not prepared for this. They were not prepared for two species fighting together. They were not prepared for the fury of humanity. T-Ho watched the battle unfold, and he knew what had to be done. The Kreth had a command ship, a massive thing at the center of their fleet. It was connected to all the other ships through some kind of mental link. If that ship was destroyed, the rest of the swarm would fall into chaos. But the command ship was heavily defended. Getting close to it would be almost impossible. Getting inside it would be certain death. "I need a team," T-Ho said to Captain Hana. "Volunteers only. This is probably a one-way trip." Hana looked at him for a long moment. She knew what he was planning. She knew the odds. "You just got off your deathbed," she said, "and now you want to die again." "I want to end this war," T-Ho replied. "I want to save our new friends, and honestly, I want to show these monsters what happens when they threaten the people I care about." Hana smiled. It was a sad smile, but there was pride in it too. "I am coming with you," she said. "And so are about 50 others who already volunteered. We knew you would have this stupid idea." T-Ho felt warmth spread through his chest. His people, his friends, they were with him until the end. The assault team loaded into a small transport ship. 50 humans and 10 Velorans. Princess Yura had insisted on joining them. Queen Nalith had tried to stop her, but Yura refused to stay behind. "He saved my life," she had said. "I will stand beside him when it matters most." The transport flew through the chaos of battle, dodging weapons fire and enemy ships. Several times, T-Ho was certain they would be hit. Several times, they survived by the smallest of margins. Finally, they reached the command ship. They forced their way inside through a damaged section of the hull. The interior was dark and wet, like the inside of some great beast. Strange sounds echoed through the metal corridors. The smell was terrible, death and decay and something worse. They fought their way forward. The Kreth defenders were monsters, creatures of tooth and claw and rage. They did not fear death. They did not retreat. But neither did the humans. T-Ho led from the front, his weapon blazing. He had learned to fight in the streets of Earth, in the training camps of the military, in 100 small conflicts across the galaxy. He knew how to survive. He knew how to win. Beside him, Yura fought with grace and power. She was beautiful even in battle, her blade moving like water, her light filling the darkness around her. They lost people along the way. Good people, brave people. Each death was a weight on T-Ho's heart, but he could not stop, he could not grieve, not yet. Finally, they reached the core of the command ship. It was a vast chamber, filled with organic technology that T-Ho could not understand. In the center, a massive creature sat on a throne of bone and metal. This was the queen of the Kreth, if such a thing could be called a queen. She looked at T-Ho with 1,000 eyes. "Little human," she said, her voice like nails on glass. "You think you can stop us? We have devoured galaxies, we have eaten gods. You are nothing." T-Ho stood before her, surrounded by the last of his team. They were wounded. They were tired. They were facing a nightmare beyond imagination. And T-Ho smiled. "Maybe I am nothing," he said, "but I am not alone, and together we are everything." He pulled out the explosive charges, enough to destroy the core of the ship, enough to break the mental link that held the Kreth swarm together. The Kreth Queen screamed and lunged at him. She was fast, faster than anything T-Ho had ever seen. But Yura was faster. She threw herself in front of T-Ho, her blade cutting deep into the Queen's body. The creature howled in pain and rage. T-Ho planted the charges. He activated the timer. 30 seconds. "Everyone out," he screamed. "Now." The team ran. They fought their way back through the corridors, back to the transport. The explosion started before they even reached the door. T-Ho was the last one to leave. He made sure everyone else was on the transport before he jumped aboard himself. The door closed just as the command ship began to tear itself apart. The explosion was massive. It lit up the entire battlefield, a second sun born from destruction. The Kreth fleet froze for a moment, then fell into complete chaos. Without their queen, without their mental link, they were nothing but mindless beasts. The Veloran and human fleets destroyed them easily after that. The war was over. When the transport returned to the flagship, T-Ho could barely stand. His wounds had reopened. His body had given everything it had. He collapsed on the deck, blood spreading beneath him. Queen Nalith was waiting for him. She looked at his broken body, at his pale face, at the smile that still played on his lips. "You fool," she said softly. "You brave, beautiful fool." She called for the healers. She ordered them to use the last of the sacred antidote. She would save this human one more time. When T-Ho woke again, he found himself back in that room of light and clouds. The queen stood beside his bed, just as before. "You are becoming expensive to maintain," she said. T-Ho laughed, then winced at the pain. "Sorry about that." Nalith did not smile, but her eyes were warm. "You have earned something no human has ever earned, a place among us, a seat at our table, a voice in our councils." She extended her hand, a gesture of profound importance in Veloran culture. It meant acceptance. It meant alliance. It meant friendship. "Humanity has proven itself," Nalith said. "You have proven yourself. The alliance between our peoples begins today." T-Ho took her hand and, with her help, rose to his feet. Princess Yura entered the room, followed by Captain Hana and the surviving members of their team. They were all smiling. They were all crying. They had won. Behind them, through the tall windows, the stars burned bright against the darkness of space. Those stars had seen the birth and death of countless civilizations. They had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Now they witnessed something new, something that had never happened before. Humans and Velorans standing together, fighting together, living together. The beginning of a new era. Tiho looked at the stars, at his friends, at the future stretching out before them. And he smiled,